At this time, we would like to continue with our program, and you can continue to enjoy the beautiful meal. Let's give a round of applause to all of our great servers tonight who have just taken such good care of us. As you know, great events like this don't happen without great corporate sponsors. And I am thrilled that Eastbrook Homes is tonight's title sponsor. Mick McGraw was joking with me earlier, and he's like, I see you at everything. And I'm saying, I see you at everything. And the reason I see him at everything is because he supports so many great things in this community. So it is my pleasure to welcome Mick McGraw to the stage.
Thank you, Maranda. And just from Eastbrook Homes, we feel truly privileged and honored to support this event and be the sponsor. But as I came in here tonight, Dan, I just had one question. Does that include a small ride anywhere in the country in that plane? That's what I want to know. That's all good? All right, that's great. I've had the opportunity to work and serve with Wedgwood in a few different ways over 25 years. For 15 years, Lucy and I, together with some good friends, hosted from 6 to 8 kids at our ranch in Montana for a few weeks each summer. Those kids loved it, and I think they grew from the experience of working with our animals, riding horses, backpacking, and I enjoyed it every bit as much as they did. Our job's pretty simple. We just hang out with the kids, have dinner with them, play games with them, do things with them, but we get some great stories. I remember one kid telling me one night, as we're having dinner and we invited some people up from town, he said, can we do this tomorrow night? This is just like a real family. We invite people up. It was just a wonderful experience for us. And what I realized the very first year struck me within just a few days. Those children were just like my children and my grandchildren, just with less opportunity. No difference. But you're never quite the same after you get to know them, and you recognize they need our love and our care, and Wedgwood needs our support to keep doing their good work. So, from all of us, thank you, Wedgwood, for everything you do, for hurting young men and women. This community needs you and appreciates you. Thank you.
Thank you to Mick and Lucy and your family and Eastbrook Homes for all that you do. We really appreciate it. It is time for our awards. Our very first award is the Doug and Lois Nagel Leadership Award. It was established in 2010 to honor those who demonstrate exemplary leadership, generosity, and commitment to furthering Wedgwood's mission. Lois, who is our first recipient of this award years ago, is actually with us tonight. Doug went to his heavenly home in December, but we are thrilled to have Lois with us. This year, we are honoring Jeff and Dawn Vanderweel for their dedication, their enthusiasm, and their leadership. Jeff and Dawn have been supporting Wedgwood since 2010. Jeff has served for 9 years on the Wedgwood Foundation Board and then transitioned to the Executive Board of Directors while continuing to stay on the board as an advisor. They have participated in multiple Wedgwood capital campaigns. And then I love this one. I met Dawn when Dawn got involved with the Antonini Girls Home. She started a gardening class, and it was so fun to watch her share her love of gardening with the girls in that home. And for the first time, many of them, that was their first engagement with a woman who cared about them and wanted to share their passion. It's beautiful work, Dawn. She is currently a member of the Women of Wedgwood. Plus, their family has been very involved in making sure that all of the homes at Christmas time have beautiful gift baskets. So it is an honor to recognize both Jeff and Dawn at this time. Please come forward. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. This is a huge honor for Dawn and I. Thank you very much. Here she is. A few years ago, our friend and colleague Gary Raderink tried to wine and dine me, taking me to the Red Hot Inn for breakfast one morning on, on Leonard and the East Belt Line, for those of you who know that place. And somehow he got my name. I think it was through my mother, so he knew about next gen planning, I think, before anybody else did. And he told me about Wedgwood. And at that time, Dawn and I had a young family. We had a lot of commitments at home with their activities at home. They were okay kids to deal with. They weren't too bad. But something struck at my heart from what Gary had told me about Wedgwood and what their mission was. As Mick just mentioned, they don't have opportunities like a lot of children do in this world, and it's made such an impact on my life that I just had to say yes. And here we are, 17 years later. I'm so privileged to be part of the board, most of which was through COVID, and I've seen Dan's leadership and the team's leadership at Wedgwood just go to God every day as warriors and go out there, fighting state government, battling with COVID, battling with trying to find people to work for them. And they've done a tremendous job. So I've learned so much. I'm so inspired by this organization. I want to say thank you to Gary, thank you for Dan and his leadership, and just a big thanks to Wedgwood for just inspiring me.
Hi. My journey with Wedgwood is a little different than Jeff's. I like to get my hands dirty. I got involved, like Maranda said. My first encounter was one November. I decided to jump in and walk in blindly to a WOW meeting, or a luncheon, I guess it was. I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea where God was going to lead me. I was terrified. I had spent my life with my 4 kids, volunteering, doing everything I needed to do as a mom. And for some reason, my heart said, you need to do something for other kids. And so that's what I did. And that led to all the other opportunities that Wedgwood gave me. I started with Lunch Buddies. Lunch Buddies was not enough for me. I decided to call the office and say, hey, what else can I do? That led to spending more time with the kids. I said, hey, let's teach them how to garden. Gardening turned into, let's make food with the things we're growing. That turned into, the winter. What are we going to do in the winter? Let's create more things. Let's make more food. Miss Dawn, what are you going to do with us in the, next season? And then, of course, during the Christmas time, I really enjoyed, doing the stockings, and then doing more things with the volunteering, doing the supporting the homes as well. It's something that once you start, you can't ever turn back. These kids are amazing. You fall in love with them. I mean, I think about them every single day. I challenge every single person in this room, if you're not involved in Wedgwood, think about it. Open that door. It's amazing. You won't regret it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for honoring us today. I don't feel like I deserve it, honestly.
Deserve it. Congratulations. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff and Dawn, thank you so much for all that you do. Next, the Molly Gilliam Award. This is the Volunteer of the Year Award. It was established in 2013 to recognize those whose volunteer efforts have had a valuable impact on the lives of those who depend on Wedgwood. Namesake, inaugural first-time winner of this is Molly, and she is joining us tonight. Again, thank you, Molly, for being here. This year, we are thrilled to recognize Jen Groendyke as the Volunteer of the Year. Jen works in public relations and communications and wellness at Lax Enterprise. She's been involved with Wedgwood since 2011, serving on the Golf Committee, the 5K Committee, Wedgwood's Next Gen Board. But the way I got to know Jen and what her legend is Christmas time for Jen. She has gotten all of the Lax industry team fired up about Christmas, and they buy thousands of dollars worth of gifts to give to every child at Hope Academy and in our residential care. But Jen doesn't stop there. She brings in Santa and Mrs. Claus. Every child has what they have requested on the list, and they come in with just bags and bags of gifts for the kids at the school. And I think, it's one thing for us to talk about it or get a couple of friends to do something, but when you're all in, everybody else is all in. And that's who Jen is. Let's give Jen a big round of applause.
Good evening. Thank you so much, and I'm beyond honored to accept this award, and congratulations to Jeff and Dawn on your receiving your leadership award. To be recognized by an organization like Wedgwood is very meaningful to me for so many reasons. About 11 years ago, I had been working in PR for a few years and at Lax Enterprises when I truly became introduced to Wedgwood through a high school friend of mine, Rob Lesiak, whose amazing wife, Allison, works there. Wedgwood was looking for a company to financially assist with Christmas gifts for the residents, and Lax graciously gave the okay to help out. Little did I know the door that God was opening to both my eyes and my heart. I quickly learned about the many programs that were offered, and the Manasseh Project was just newly formed, and the rest is history. My guess is that a number of here tonight have had similar experiences with Wedgwood, the mission they have for the children, the families of our community, the footprint that they, the employees, and the children immediately leave on your heart, driving you to find ways to help, to pray, to give, to introduce the mission to anyone and everyone that you meet. I am so thankful to my family, my friends, my manager, and my company who have embraced, encouraged, believed in my many Wedgwood ideas, and to all of those who have jumped on board in different ways over the years. And I look forward to continuing to find new and unique ways to share the mission. I am so excited, honored, and extremely humbled to accept this award, but mostly I would like to say thank you to Wedgwood Christian Services for being a constant in our community. We are beyond blessed to have you in our community to support our kiddos and our families, to transform with grace-filled care to help them to grow, to heal, to thrive, and to discover who they are truly made to be. And to be honest, I think that when I work with you, your mission truly is impacting me too. Happy anniversary, and thank you very much. Have a good night.
Congratulations, Jen. Next, I am excited to announce a brand new award that we will be giving here at Wedgwood. It is the inaugural Employee of the Year Award. It honors longtime employee and dear friend of Wedgwood Christian Services, Gary Raderink. Gary departed this earthly life for his heavenly home in July. And when you meet people like Gary, you say, someday I want to be like that guy. Gary worked a full 30 years as a career as a CPA and a business owner. When he retired, he wasn't done. No way. He spent his retirement serving as the CFO, then planned giving officer at Wedgwood. He had a second and a third career spanning another 30 years. Gary established the Wedgwood Foundation, the Legacy Society, which we are dedicating to support the longevity of Wedgwood's impact. Gary was a man of many meaningful connections and encouraged everyone he knew to consider how God called them to steward their gifts. Gary was an exceptional man of God, and he blessed Wedgwood beyond measure through his work. I feel like Gary's spirit is with us tonight, and I am thrilled that his son Jim and Jim's wife Tammy are here to accept the award honoring Gary. Please come on.
Hello. It's an honor that Wedgwood has decided to recognize my father. I was going to say a lot of the same things Maranda was going to say, so we must have the same speechwriter. So I've been struggling to think of what to say, and I spent a lot of time the last 6 months with my father in the hospital, and I was always amazed. He never forgot about Wedgwood. He was always asking me questions. They had I think it's called the Legacy Lunch, and he wanted to make sure, hey, Jim, you got him flowers for that, right? I'm like, yep, Dad, we got it covered. Or I think there was a foundation board meeting. He's like, I think it was this week. Can you email Mara and get me the minutes so I can be prepared when we have the next meeting? Or in June or May, we were talking about the golf outing, and he said, I need you to do me a favor. I didn't make all my calls. You need to go to my condo and get my sheet of paper and then bring it to the hospital. I think I can call them from the hospital. I said, Dad, I think they got you covered this year. So it's just a real honor. Wedgwood's been so kind to our family and the support you've shown us for the last year, and we just want to thank you for everything. So thanks.
Your dad was a rock star.
Thank
and
you.
You are too. Thank you. Thank you so much. At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Dan Gowdy, Wedgwood's president and CEO, to the stage to give us an update on what's really happening at Wedgwood. Dan?
Thanks, Maranda. Blessings. It's so excited to be here. This is awesome. Let me get this. But if I could, I'd like to tell you my story. Last time I spent time with Gary, the advancement team and I visited him in can we go back to a slide? Do you have a picture of him? I don't know. We went to him in the hospital, and as we walked into his room, he was laying flat on his bed, and he had the covers tied up to his chin. And as soon as he saw us, me and the advancement team, walk into the room, he looked and smiled. And he smirked and said, "Did you bring my call list?" Yeah, it's so funny that was so important. And Wedgwood, exactly right, Jim, and so appreciate your leadership. Wedgwood was never far from his consciousness. We sat in that hospital room and we talked with Gary, and he said something that caught us completely off guard. He said with a broken voice, he said, "Can I pray for you? But I need somebody to take over when my voice gives away. I'm a PK. I've spent a lot of time in hospitals next to beds. I've never had anybody ask to pray for me." Here's a man in the hospital knowing he has precious few days on this earth. Even in that state, even at that time, he had he thought beyond his own situation. He thought to pray for us. That's Gary's true spirit, isn't it? He prayed until he could not talk anymore. He prayed emotionally. He prayed fervently for us, for Wedgwood, and for our well-being. He was the epitome of what it means to be a Wedgwood employee, a Wedgwood waymaker, if you will, a passionate steward of our mission in every way for 6 decades, literally until his last breath. Working at Wedgwood was never a job for Gary. It was his calling. Because of that, I am proud to announce that we've created the Gary Raderink Employee Development Fund to help support the development of the next generation of exceptional team members, whether that's a clinician, or youth treatment specialist, or an accountant, or a home supervisor. You see, Gary was not just a man of great character. he was really good at his job. He was exceptionally competent. So this fund will enhance our culture and encourage our team here at Wedgwood so that we can expertly impact the people we serve with the same spirit that Gary Ratterink had. So I'm very proud to also announce that every gift to the Gary Ratterink Employee Development Fund tonight will be matched up to $20,000 by an anonymous donor at Wedgwood. We have an amazing Wedgwood family, do we not? It's pretty special. I'm having a hard time with my papers here. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. There's a lot of choices for your time. October is gala month, right? And I'm thankful that you've taken time out of your schedule to be here in this awesome venue. I'm so thankful. I wish to recognize a few people in attendance tonight, if I could. First of all, I'd like to thank the advancement team. Is this amazing or what? It takes so much effort to put something on like this, doesn't it? And they work tirelessly up to midnight, night after night, and then I happen to walk in and say, hey, I changed the script in the PowerPoint, and they still roll with it. God bless you. Thanks for working behind the scenes to make this night reflect our values, the values of Wedgwood and the spirit of Wedgwood. We have also here Lynn Afandoulis. Lynn is running for state office in my home district. And she is one of the few politicians that's taken time out of her schedule and visited Wedgwood and taken a tour. She's a good friend of Wedgwood, and we need the support. So thank you publicly in advance, Lynn, for supporting Wedgwood and the youth and the families in need. God bless you. Thank you. Thanks also to our board members. You'll see they have cool little name tags. Jeff, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight, for your tireless efforts to steer this organization and keeping us focused on the mission in the very, very uncertain times. And most importantly, I want to thank and welcome our employees in attendance. If you're a Wedgwood employee, please stand. Let us thank you. Isaiah. These are amazing people who have shown up this past 2.5 years. I'm pivoting, I'm giving up on this. They've shown up in the last 2.5 years, day after day. It's truly humbling. It truly is humbling. And I'm honored and grateful to stand here as a leader of this amazing organization and represent all of you. It's been an incredible year, hasn't it? I was just talking to some of you. Even the last 6 months have been amazing. Being here this evening has prepared, in preparing for this night, many times I've taken a sigh of relief because of the stress of this unprecedented COVID pandemic. And it feels at times like it's starting to lift, maybe. For the last 30 months or so, Wedgwood and many child service organizations have carried this unprecedented burden every day where it was just about survival, protecting our clients, supporting our staff, and stabilizing our organization. Last year, when I stood in before you, our outlook wasn't so optimistic, was it? We had just been through 3 waves of COVID. The national workforce shortage hit nonprofits especially hard. And I stood in front of you and told you that we had to turn away 170 kids over the course of the year, kids that needed our care and compassion, but we couldn't accept them because our staffing ratios were severely impacted because of the pandemic. To make matters worse, we were about to encounter the most disruptive and the longest of all of the COVID waves. The 4th wave of COVID hit us the hardest and the longest. At one point, we had 45% of our direct care staff out sick with COVID. Those that remained were exhausted, working extra shift, but still they persevered and they continued to show up, putting the client's needs above their own. At some points I wondered, how much more could they take? Seasons of struggle often have silver linings, right, if we look for them. And for me, these 30 months of the pandemic were a stark reminder of what matters most in these times: relationships. Our faith teaches us to care for and support one another, to show grace, encouragement, and love. That's exactly what our staff was doing. What was feeding their soul during that time was the relationships with the people they serve and a commitment to serving something larger than self. They were doing the work of Jesus' hands in a traumatized world. As I look back, it reminds me of the parable of the mustard seed. It seems like we didn't have much at the time, but faith. And sometimes, maybe, just the size of a mustard seed. And so, by the grace of God, we're in a different place today. Thanks to an aggressive and bold investment by our board of directors and our foundation board. We've hired 57 new frontline workers just in the last 3.5 months. We reduced turnover of our frontline staff from 87% to 27%. And recently we had a successful legislative session where we received a budget supplemental to provide $2 million one-time payments to Wedgwood. And recent legislative action will increase residential rates for the time being to sustain market pay for our frontline workers. At a time where child care institutions across the state are closing their doors forever, Wedgwood is the only one in the state of Michigan that is growing their census. Praise the Lord. But the needs continue to grow. Just today, I read in the Detroit Free Press, they published an article. Here's the title: Michigan has nowhere to send vulnerable kids as the placement crisis builds. Many of you heard me talk about the mental health tsunami, a massive wave of depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and suicide thoughts that is facing our teens now more than ever before. Last year, the U.S. Surgeon General cited a 2019 survey of young people that showed 1 in 3 high school students and half of female students reported persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. That's an increase of 40% from 10 years before. Now keep in mind, these stats are from 2019. The pandemic has only exacerbated the teen mental health issue, hasn't it? Those are national statistics, but we decided to do our own social experiment to get a snapshot, if you will, of what's going on in our own community. We brought together West Michigan teens and their parents to understand how differently the kids and parents perceive mental illness. Let's take a look.
One of my close friends in 8th grade actually took his life. And then later that school year, a different boy in our grade took his life as well. So I've kind of just always been surrounded by it, especially at an early age.
Mental health means to me putting yourself first, just yourself, and making sure you don't fall down that dark hole.
Mental health is not always a negative, it's help, right? So it's also the positive that we need to get out of it.
Did you ever think about mental health back then?
When I think about being a teenager, I remember the feelings of not being able to be one of the guys or fitting in.
I wouldn't have even known how to put words to anything that I was going through.
We didn't talk about it. And I think probably to our detriment.
No, they never talked about that. It wasn't really even a thought.
So what are some of the biggest concerns that you have about your child on a daily basis?
I worry about what I don't know or what I should know that I don't know. Teenagers don't always share with their parents everything going on.
I worry about triggers that can lead to potential self-harm.
My son, Nick, has really been more outspoken about some of the mental issues that he's been dealing with. As I look back in those stages of middle school and high school, I just wish he had better access to mental health providers.
When we're not paying attention to our own individual mental health, sometimes traumatized children become traumatized adults. And if we're ever going to find ourselves in a space where we're no longer enabling hurt people to hurt people, but we're really empowering healed people to heal people, it means we have to be intentional about paying attention to the state of our mind.
I'm always worried about fitting in and being self-conscious about how I look. Just talking to
and spending time with friends helps me get through it.
I'm worried about not being cool, being a nerdy person.
I get stressed out about fitting in and homework. I feel really busy and I have to do all this stuff.
When I wake up, I feel sleepy. Some days I don't want to go to school, but that's every kid. Some days, especially
during school, I feel anxious. By the end of the day, I'm excited to go to sleep.
School stresses me out a lot.
Kids at school stress me out. They just are not nice.
I don't want my mom to worry about me. She has enough stress already. I want to cause the least amount of stress and problems for my mom. I woke up feeling stressed about my classes.
I'm worried about my friends today and if they are going to be inclusive or not.
I worry about what I look like, if I'm pretty enough, skinny enough. There's a lot of movement in people, and I get
anxious in crowds, and it can be so hard to go from a big crowd in the hall to the classroom and learn.
Just think about how kids they don't get rest because their minds are always on. There are already barriers to them getting their education or for them to feel normal. Kids don't get the opportunity like we think they do. And we don't think about the fact that they don't get the rest that they need, coupled with all the other things that they're up against. Right. So where's their escape?
So what did you stress out about when you were a teenager? When I was a teenager, I think I was stressed out about just fitting in and being cool.
Do you feel proud when your kids share their thoughts and feelings with you? Absolutely. That makes me feel like I'm doing my job as a mother and that she trusts me.
Do you ever wish your kids didn't struggle with mental health? Yeah, I wish they didn't. I wish that they were able to not have that burden.
Was it hard to talk to your parents, teachers, peers about mental health? Yes. For me, when I was young, it was hard to talk about mental health and I never did it. I don't know how my parents would have responded if I had said I was struggling with something regarding mental health.
Is it tough for you to hear that kids deal with anxiety? No, I think that anxiety is a very common thing. Kids are little humans, and so they're gonna struggle with the same things that adults struggle with in terms of anxiety and worry and fear, and it's totally normal, and it's even better to deal with it.
We would like to show you the kid who wrote these.
Okay.
So if you would like to step up here really quick.
Hey.
Hi. Did you hear my answers?
Yeah. So in this moment, what would you like to say to one another?
I kind of had an idea, but it still was kind of a shock. When she was a kid, it was so just not really like something that you would talk about.
I was a teenager too, even though it seems like a long time ago, so I think we can have some common grounds to talk about things that I went through that you're gonna go through.
I would like to tell you that I'm very proud of how you come at life with just a great attitude of like, I'll find the best in this situation. I don't want that to be a burden you bear. I want you to be able to come to us when you're like, nope, I can't make it through this without help.
Sometimes I feel guilty for being a burden, needing so much.
Ugh. You're not a burden.
Me too.
I think something that you do is listening to me and taking in what I have to say. And I think something that we both, I think, already agreed on is that I might need to go back into counseling to just be able to debrief you even more and to not put more heaviness on your heart when you're already grieving as well.
If you ever come to a point where you feel like you're not stable, or if you feel like you need something or need someone, you always have me.
I mean, it's like, it truly is a scary thing to do, to talk to your parents about, but it really does make all the difference, having the support.
Sometimes it's hard to know that God's there, but I had to remember that He's got my back.
When my children are going through something that's a struggle and I'm at a loss and feel like I don't know how to help them or parent them well through it, it just comes back to trusting that He'll supply me with what I need to parent them well while they're struggling. But having prayer to rely on is a big way that I get through struggles.
These kids, these young people, they have real perspective, real insight, real valid indigenous wisdom to offer about how we as an older generation respond to them. So I think it's really important for our generation to listen to them, to honor them, to respect them. And I think the more we do that as parents, as an older generation, the more we're willing to bend and flex and adjust to the wave of the future, the better we will all become.
That was pretty powerful, wasn't it? Thank you to those parents and teens who opened up their hearts. Could you just raise your hand? I know many of you are here today, but thank you. Thank you for giving to us a very, very special gift. Thank you. I watched this video a few times now, and still there's this sense of disbelief around the reality that's facing us. Remember the girl who talked about losing not one, but two classmates because they took their own life? A common theme for many of these kids is that they worry about being a burden to their parents. We all know children are fragile. There is only so much they can and should be expected to manage, right? Schoolwork, friends, growing up is hard enough. But the added pressure of living in today's world compound that. And it is up to us to help them understand it and learn to cope with it. We are all God's children, and we have a compelling need and calling to help our collective children, because here at Wedgwood, we have the unique ability and the expertise to do so, to help them understand their feelings, to learn to cope with them, to create safe space where children can be brave and comfortable sharing their feelings, to walk alongside parents and helping them grow in their relationship with their child, to open up lines of communication, eliminating the taboo about mental illness, and empower them with the skills to have honest conversations. We can help families move towards unity, support through dialogue. Growth just doesn't happen through a clinical model. It takes bravery, doesn't it? It takes courage to move forward. This happens best in open and honest relationships. We're working to diligently go beyond our pre-pandemic census in our residential program. These are children whose difficult behaviors are the result of experiences no child should ever have to endure: trafficking, abuse, trauma, substance use. But with grace and love, we show them what's possible with the right supports. But at the same time, there is a pressing need in our community to grow and expand our outpatient services because we have the tools and specific expertise to address them. One of my favorite quotes is Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous thrive, the people rejoice. Our community benefits when Wedgwood is healthy and growing. If we are strong, our community is stronger. Earlier this year, I was at the Grand Rapids Journal 40 Under 40 event. I recognized the name of a company that we just hired to do business with, and I decided to introduce myself to the owner, who happened to be a 40 Under 40 award recipient, a leader in the community with bright expectations. As I walked up to her, she recognized my Wedgwood name badge and said, "You know, I was a teenager at Wedgwood in the runaway program." The woman had come to Wedgwood when she was 16 and is now a 40 Under 40 leader in our community, married, business owner, and mother. She said the compassion the staff showed her helped her turn her life around. She said the experience shaped her and helped her grow into the woman she is today. And right then, a young girl, maybe 8 years old, came up to her, clutched her, and said, "Mom, can we go now?" I felt like I had to hit the pause button in that moment, because I had to process an aha moment that was about to happen. So here is this 8-year-old girl who has a caring, compassionate, successful mom because of the tools she was giving during her short time at Wedgwood those many years ago. Not only this young teen's life was changed, the mother, but that small show of compassion towards her changed her future daughter's life as well. And here's the aha moment. In this work, we are breaking a generational cycle. Not just for the child that's abused or trafficked or traumatized, not just for the teens that are struggling with mental illness, but we are providing children with the tools to cope and survive in a compassionate environment where we are impacting them, their future, for future generations. Wow. You know what's great? Is that amazing person is here today. Ashley. Thank you. Thank you for being an inspiration and a reminder of the power of grace, hope, and love. God bless you and your wonderful family. Relationships. Relationships have been the essence of our work here at Wedgwood for decades, and with your help and support will continue to be for years to come. Relationships between our staff and the people we serve. Relationships between the children in our community and their parents. Relationships between leaders here at Wedgwood and our staff. Relationships make us human. So tonight, as you listen to Jimaine's story, as you consider your gift, which will help us continue to grow and expand the positive influence in our community, I would encourage you to think about the relationships that you hold most dear. Which ones have impacted and shaped your life? Because within every child, within every person, is a mustard seed of greatness. Thank you and God bless.
I love hearing stories of success. It also reminds me that kids just need adults who care. And that's why we're here today. I am excited because I have the privilege of having my friend join me on stage. Join me in welcoming Jimaine Wilson. Jimaine, if you want to come on up. Jimaine spent a few years at Wedgwood. As a teenager, while he was there, he discovered that he had musical skills. And he has become a successful hip-hop artist. He is known out on the street as Sixman. And Jimaine is here to share his story. Come on up, my friend.
All right.
So let's talk about your first impressions of Wedgwood.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So to be honest, like my first impressions when I first came to Wedgwood, just to be honest, is I didn't really like it because I was a kid that was, you know, out on the streets and I was hurting people. So I didn't really want to be taken away from what I was doing initially. So when I first was introduced to it, I kind of was a little standoffish from it first.
So what changed?
Being in the program for a while and just sitting and taking time with myself and really getting at myself. Then I had parents who were really concerned too with making sure that I took the time to get myself right, make sure I got my education, and then picking up with the culture of hip hop while I was inside just a little bit more and picking up some of those morals and foundations that we have in the actual culture of hip hop kind of started straightening me out a little bit, you know, to want to get myself right.
So you grew up in the Lansing area when you were a little kid, moved to Grand Rapids, and then here you are as a young man in Wedgwood. While you were there, what are some of the things you reflected on in life?
Mostly things that I was doing wrong, family. Like kids like us, you know, we find ourselves lost, you know, in this time while we're going through what we're going through. And a lot of reflection comes from just missing family, wanting to be free, and just wanting to have a voice and be heard. So I'm reflecting on a lot of those things, but most importantly, getting myself better at that time was what the most things that was on my mind.
How did your vision change of yourself while you were at Wedgwood? Did you see yourself differently?
Today?
When you were a kid at Wedgwood, when you went in, you didn't want any part of it, you decided you did, you were getting into it. Did the way you looked at yourself in the mirror change?
Absolutely.
How?
Absolutely. I found respect for myself. I started to love myself. See, before I wasn't loving myself, I didn't really care. That was my slogan before turn your pain into your game was I didn't care. So after, you know, I started to deal with myself and people around me were really trying to care about me and give me some real substance is when I could look in the mirror and really say I love myself.
Was there a moment that sticks out for you that you remember when you were at Wedgwood where you were like, that was a game changer?
The game changer for me would have been the first day when I arrived at Wedgwood. It was shocking for me, you know, just the different things that I had to abide by and follow and just seeing what I was walking into. That was still a game changer at first because I tell you this, when I first came into Wedgwood, me and my mom just had this conversation before I came down here. We reflected on the day when we walked in the room and she read Revelations to me. Because before I was really like cursing God. You know, I was like, if there was a God, then I would be with my family and such and such. So we read Revelations. Game changer. Forever. We never forget the day. We still talk about it 20, 30 years later because it really was the biggest game changer for me, was her reading that to me and that getting across to me and me understanding a little bit deeper than I was that day.
It's beautiful.
Yep.
So what did you learn while you were in Wedgwood's care? What are some of the skills that you're using today?
Yep. Glad you asked. Accountability, responsibility are two words that you'll hear me use today in many conversations with people. I'll tell them that you gotta at least take accountability for your action in it, for what you did. I just had a conversation with my young brother and explaining to him on how we can't blame others. You gotta take accountability on what you did. This is for your healing. So these are things that I walk with every day still. Accountability, responsibility.
Those are important messages.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you feel that Wedgwood stepped in at a crisis point in your life where you were at that fork in the road?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because at that time, I could have easily been thrown away off to jail, prison, something maybe a little bit more worse. But I feel like me coming here was a chance, a second chance again. Them saying, hold on, I see something in you that you might not see in yourself. Maybe you need to go to a place like this, and they can really help bring it out of you. So I want people to know, like, even though you might hear me say in my younger years that when I first got there, I didn't like it, as a grown man, when I walked and I come back to Wedgwood today, the beautiful things that I see from the people and the staff, it just amazes me. It just touches my heart like, wow, I see people here that really do care. So you'll get a guy like me to really explain to the kids too, like, I think you guys are surrounded by people who really do care about you too. And they need to hear it from people that are just like them too, sometimes, I think.
So what would you say to that kid who is saying, I don't know if I ever would go to Wedgwood. I don't think I'd ever fit in. I don't think they've got anything to teach me. What would you say?
Don't be fooled. Slow down, take time, and listen. We have to learn. Take time to learn something new. Take the experience and don't look at it in a negative light, take it as a negative experience. When I was talking to the kids, I told them, this is not it for you. It's not over. Things like that, they have to really hear that and know that it's not over. I thought that it was over. There was many times I'm just sitting here while I'm here this weekend and I was just thinking about when I was in the room and just thinking to myself how I just felt like this was it, man. I'm never gonna succeed and get nowhere. This is it for me. So I know other kids feel like that as well. So I gotta let them know that this is not it. This is not the end of the road. This is a stepping stone for you to get yourself better before you move on to whatever it is that God got planned for you.
And you know what is so cool is you recently went back to Wedgwood and you spoke to the kids. You talked as a successful rap artist, but also as someone who's been there and done that.
Right, right.
What was that important message you wanted every kid to hear and to hang on to?
Freedom. That was the main topic and goal of that day was freedom. I want to hear your voice about how you want to be free. Because if you want to be free, then you can work towards getting free. Sometimes we got a lot of stuff pent up inside. We got a lot of stuff pent up inside that we want to say or how we feel. So I had to give those kids a chance to be able to feel free. That's the most important thing to me.
And you did that with a hip-hop workshop.
Yep.
And the kids had the chance to write some of their own lyrics.
Yep.
And I have some of the lyrics.
Okay. Okay.
And one wrote, I am stressed, depressed, I must confess. Got a lot of stuff on my mind, ready to lay it to rest. But I'm gonna keep on grinding, I'm gonna keep on shining, no matter how many times I fall, I'm gonna keep on rising. Is that beautiful?
Right, right.
And now I want to hear how you put that together and have you do a little something for us.
Okay.
Okay.
So before I get started, I'll explain. So I joined the kids and did a 16-2. We had a beat going and everything. So I took time and I wrote something that kind of, was for today, special for today. And it's in dedication of my mom, my love for her, my love for my family. So you get to really hear the intimate side of my rhyme. So whenever we're ready, I'm cool. Yeah. Just take time and feel it for a minute. Bring the chorus in. freedom at a young age, alone the line lost my way. It was even at a time from God where I went astray. I ain't preaching from the streets, I was born in the ghetto state. Life as a shorty shouldn't be so rough. Seen roaches in the staircase, mama trying to keep us safe. The same time the hood was getting hyped over Scarface, we was rolling in Regals with the beepers, fresh sneakers, telling you where I come from, telling you who I was. Out the concrete taught to get it out the mud. Toured the world 3 times, brother from Grand Rapids. Called my dad on the phone like, look, I made it happen. My mom was so proud, her smile was everlasting. The love, the passion was real, was never acting. But a bunch of CDs and backpack and made it happen. I'm your son, I would never turn my back. You my mama, I love you, just know that that's the fact. Say for you, for you, come on. For you, you. Yeah. So that was my 16 bars that I wrote.
Jimaine Wilson, I love it so much.
Thank you.
All right, what would you like to say to these beautiful people tonight about why it's important to support a place like Wedgwood to help kids like you?
Absolutely. I would say keep supporting Wedgwood because kids like me, we really need the love. We really need to know that it's people like you that care. A lot of these kids where we come from is not really a pretty place. Where I come from the southeast side of Grand Rapids, back in the 90s. So just surviving that, to me, is awesome. So we need people like you to keep supporting these people, to keep helping transform these lives. I would also say, too, I know that you guys may be helping transitioning for kids that are older and getting out of the program. I think that something like that is very important because I remember when I got out of the program for about a year or two, I just felt lost and didn't know what to do, where to go, and how to really start. So I feel like at that point for kids who are getting out, if you can help focus on their transition back into life, would be so beautiful, and it really would help people that come from where we come from. So I would just say, please keep supporting Wedgwood, please.
Thank you, Jimaine.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
I want the Jimaine Wilson show to carry on. Great job. Thank you so much. Well, you know, we've heard so many things tonight. You've heard from kids, and if you're like me and you watched those stats on the screen, you're like, really, 1 in 3? Really, 1 in 5? Our kids today are hurt and struggling. But there is hope. And there's a place called Wedgwood that is there with open arms. It doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, who you know, who you don't know. They are saying, come on in. There's hope and there's healing. And I get excited about places that mean it and live it every day. And I'll tell you what, for 62 years, Wedgwood's grace-filled care and services have impacted over 300,000 lives, including the young woman in the back, including this man right here, and so many others. Aren't we blessed to have a place like Wedgwood in our community? Where would our kids be without them? I want to thank our Wedgwood team for all that they do, for the unique, life-changing, transformational services they provide. And we've been doing the math at Wedgwood, and we said that tonight, if every person in this room would give a minimum of $150, if everyone in this room would do it, we would meet that goal of $40,000. And then I was thinking about that beautiful match we have for that extra 20. Do you realize the impact we could have? Do you feel we can make that happen? Because I do. I know we can. When you make the gift to Wedgwood, you will help each child learn that he or she is valued. And that's something I'm learning, is that I talk to kids all the time. And often I'm like, why doesn't that kid see all the potential they have? And I realize that's our job. That's our job, to look at those kids and say, you got it. Like someone did for Jimaine, that said, I see something in you. It's something special. It's my friend Steve, who works with kids at Wedgwood every day. Steve looks at kids and sees the good in them, not the bad in them. And when you bring that out, you bring out hope, Steve, and all of the Wedgwood team. So how do we get involved? We've got convenient cards on your table. There is a green envelope and a card on your table along with some pens. And I'd like you to really think about how you want to get involved. On that card, it lists a variety of ways. Whether you would like to make a significant impact by making a generous donation, we sure would appreciate it. You might want to receive prayer requests from the kids at Wedgwood. If your heart wants to be touched, sign up for that. You might want prayer requests from our staff at Wedgwood that just say, can you just pray for me? I just need to know someone cares and is encouraged by the work I do every day. Maybe you'd like to come and take a tour of Wedgwood. I've heard it several times tonight. Once you get involved, I think Dawn said it well, and Jen, once you get involved, you're hooked. Come on out. We want to get you hooked. So take some time. Think about how you would like to support Wedgwood. We'll play a little bit of music. You'll pray about it. You'll think about it. But mostly I want you to think about the faces of your own kids. And your own kids have an advantage. How can you help kids who don't? That's why you're here tonight. Take a minute. Think about your donation you'd like to make.
Can't you see? Just come along with me. You are good enough for me. Yeah, you're all that matters. Can't you see? Come along with me. You are good enough for me. Yeah, you're all that matters.
Once you have filled out that card, we have giving stations in the back of the room. We'd like you to drop your card off there. They are taking credit cards tonight if you want to do that, or whatever is comfortable for you. They are here to support you. I also would encourage you to take a wood slice ornament on your way out. These are really cool ornaments that we want you to hang in a place that you see regularly. And when you look at that, I want you to pray for the kids at Wedgwood, the kids that are living in our residential facilities, the kids that are in family therapy, and then the kids that they minister to in schools every day. I'd also like you to pray for our workers, our team of incredible staff members who minister to the whole child. I want you to pray for them as well. I'd also like to remind you that as you exit tonight, our very own Joel Schoon-Tanis, a local artist who has given so much to so many organizations, he created a very special print in the beautiful art you see over here. You can stop by, check out his art, say hello to him as well. And then if you're saying, what are they going to do with those beautiful arrangements on the table? Guess what? Whoever's birthday is the closest to today at your table gets to take the arrangement home tonight. Isn't that awesome? And on behalf of the Wedgwood team, are you excited? I feel the energy of the free arrangement. Excellent. I want to leave you with a final thought, and I'm going to reread. I've lost control of the room because of the arrangements. Really? All right, here we go. As you're thinking about your donation, as you're thinking about why did I come tonight? You came because a child who is currently at Wedgwood is writing this, that piece we read earlier. I am stressed, I'm depressed, I must confess. Got a lot of stuff on my mind, ready to lay it to rest. But I'm going to keep on grinding. I'm going to keep on shining no matter how many times I fall, because I'm going to keep on rising. Let's let our kids keep on rising. Thank you.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars, and let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song.